today. Welcome, Bel.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me about your role at Ikon and your journey to get here.
So at Ikon, I'm one of the lecturers, and I occasionally do some counselling lecturing, but because my main modality in my own practice is art therapy, that I do a lot of the art therapy lecturing, mainly in the more practical elements of art therapy. And to get here, it's been quite an interesting journey. So I was going to be a filmmaker when I left school, and somehow I've become a filmmaker without the film. So looking at people's stories and how their life works. And I basically had a job at a school, a senior secondary school, and my office became the drop-in centre. So I decided to study counselling, so I did that at uni. And then when in my counselling, it was always a little bit different, not just a let's just talk about this. I used lots of different tools and metaphor and symbolism. And then I actually studied transpersonal counselling here at Ikon before I stepped into art therapy. And I haven't looked back. It's been really good. And actually haven't really left Ikon either. But, yeah.
So tell me what made you become an art therapist?
I think I've always been interested in people's stories, like I said. And I discovered that there was another way to go deeper and for people to express. And it's not just about words, that quite often people can't talk about things. And I actually had a really poignant moment with one of my students when I was in a school. And he was the type of person who, whenever you went near feelings, he would bolt, like just run and do the typical flight mode. And we actually got a psychologist to come in and see him at one point, and she asked him if he could draw something. And so I gave him some textures, and he looked at me and so said, "Do you need these?" And in this moment, it really highlights the power of art therapy and the fact that I needed to do more. And what he actually did was he grabbed the red texture and snapped it in half and smeared all of the ink all over him and flicked it onto the page, and then grabbed the black texture and stabbed it. So it was quite intense moment, but what that highlighted was how art therapy can help. And in that moment, he expressed something that he hadn't been able to express before. And it was quite interesting because the psychologist freaked out a little bit. But if I knew what I know now, by being an art therapist, then I would have been able to navigate that a lot more and go deeper with him and have a way for him to speak, because there wasn't the words to express that. But in that moment, he was able to do that. So for me, I was like, wow, this stuff is amazing. Like, have a look at how people can express and really work through stuff in a different way. So I think I look back on my life and know that I was meant to be an art therapist, but I just didn't know it existed. And so I discovered it and haven't looked back.
So that leads on really nicely to my next question, which is, what are the benefits of using art therapy as a therapeutic medium instead of just talking to a client?
Yeah, so talking is great, but what art therapy does is, and the art holds the content. And what it does is allow people to really explore for themselves rather than being told or having those limiting things. So what you do is go into the art and discover and explore and express, and it goes beyond words, and people are constantly amazed at what they discover within the art, but also the tactile nature of it and the way that people can let go or add or rip things up, or there's a ritualistic sort of element to it that really helps people to explore and really go there. And the different mediums allow things to be expressed in a different way. So for instance, clay can be, it's transformative, but also it holds something very unique that people can pound it and really get involved in their own process. Where marbling might be something it's a little bit more flowy and things are a little bit out of control. So the art actually helps resonate or challenge what the issue is and how people explore that.
Fantastic. Can you explain a little bit about marbling and what marbling is?
Sure, sorry.
That's okay.
So basically it's putting ink into water and having a look at the shapes and colours, and you get an imprint of it. And so it's a little bit like when you, I don't know whether you did that as a child, when you look at the clouds and you see shapes in the clouds.
Yeah.
So that's the symbolism that sort of can come through. So it's about that experience that's happening.
Thank
Yeah.
you. What's the most rewarding thing about being an art therapist?
I think one of the things is that it's so unique to every single situation, and it's not just about people having problems, it's people who want to dream and look forward in life as well. But there's nothing like when a client discovers something that they didn't know before, or that they're able to actually go somewhere that they feel safe enough to go there, because sometimes it can be really hard to do that, but the art holds that. And I get tingles thinking about those moments when people instinctively know what to do with it. So even though it might be hard and dark or challenging, or it's a block or whatever's happening, then the moment that they realise that they can do something with that. So I think the best thing about being an art therapist is it's so individualised, and people can discover things for themselves. It's actually their own work and their own going inward and having a look, even though it's external to them. And when it's mirrored back, they can see things that they didn't see before. But there's nothing like those moments when somebody discovers that the block that they had needs to be bashed down, or it's transformed, or it's cut up, or it's put down the drain, whatever it is. Those moments of letting go and releasing and transforming, that's my favourite part of art therapy, is when people do that for themselves.
Thanks, Bel. What sort of jobs can Ikon graduates in art therapy expect to be working in?
So one of the interesting things is when I first graduated and I told people that I was an art therapist, probably 9 out of 10 people were like, "A what?" Where now, when I say I'm an art therapist, people know about it. And it's brilliant, because some of the graduates that I know of, well, I work at the Children's Hospital, Women's and Children's Hospital here in palliative care, but I know some of my fellow graduates and other people who I've taught here have worked in schools with children who are really disengaged, with adults. I do some work in corporate wellbeing programs. There's people who work with carers, with aged care. The scope for art therapy is endless, and what's been really amazing to see over the last probably 5-6 years in particular is that it's become more well known, and people are seeking art therapists because they realise the power of it and the potential of it. And if I had it my way, there would be an art therapist in every school, and there would be in each department of hospitals and things like that too, because people are vulnerable and they're the places where you can really make a difference. I know a couple of students have gone on and done programs within prisons, and yeah, the scope for it is huge, and it's about getting out there and people using it in their roles as well that are already established.
And I think you've probably answered my next question, which was about defining the importance of art therapy. But is there anything that you would add to that conversation in terms of the importance overall within society for art therapy as a medium for therapy broadly, and art therapists?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I notice is we're so connected through technology, but we're actually so disconnected. And what that art does is really help people to connect to themselves. And that's something that I really love about holding that space for people. And I think the more that we get art therapy out there and people know about it, the more people can explore for themselves. And I'm really passionate about educating people on that, because it's not something that's just art is a fun thing to do. Yes, it is, but art therapy really is about exploring your own life. And and having a look at what needs to happen and what needs to be expressed so that you can transition through your life and really explore what's happening. So I think everyone should do art therapy. I might be a little bit biased, but it is a space for total exploration and really having a look at what needs to happen in your life, and I think everyone should do that. Particularly actually because one of the reasons why I've moved into going into workplaces and helping people and using art therapy to debrief and to look at self-care and all of those types of things is we're so stressed out. There's so many people walking around who are just being stressed, and so having time to reflect and really have a look at where things are at and what you need to do to have the best life that you can have. I think we need to have art therapy out there everywhere.
Sounds great. What do you feel the future of art therapy holds in Australia and the direction that art therapy is going in Australia?
Yeah, so it's fantastic that people know about it more, but I personally would like to see art therapists out there a lot more. I don't think we can ever have too many. That in Australia there's some fantastic work being done within places like Ikon to train people to be really experiential and really in the moment with people. And I think the way we're heading is that art therapy will be in more places, so not-for-profits and places where people are vulnerable. Having art therapists within those settings will really help things transition for those clients, and I think we just more and more need to get out there. So in corporate, in small business, in schools, in prisons, everywhere, so that people can really explore their life and really step into what they can do and reach their potential and the possibilities of their life.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add to the conversation, Bel, or a message that you wanted to really convey to the audience today?
I think one of the things that I've come across a lot is people are scared of doing art because year 3 teachers tell them that they think their drawings don't good. I'm talking generally. But also being scared of therapy as well. And I think one of the great things about art therapy is that the art holds the emotion and people not to be scared of it. That it doesn't matter what it looks like because all it's doing is reflecting life. And so that doesn't have to be something that sits on the gallery wall. It's actually, I'm an expert in stick figures, but it's the meaning and the symbolism, and we speak in metaphors, so the art really holds them and allows us to really art. And I think each of us need to spend time reflecting on ourselves and where we're at, rather than projecting things out, and that's where blame and anger and all of those things happen. But art therapy holds that and allows us to own our own behaviours, as well as having a place to take the mask off and really have a look at what is actually happening. That we quite often will put on that everything's okay, it's all wonderful, but behind that mask there's a very different story. And I think that we all need a place to actually take that mask off and really take responsibility. So art therapy is a space there can be what's really happening and feel safe in it and allow the art to really help you to be my message. Number one, we all need therapy, but to really express what's really happening, because if we don't, it comes out in lots of different ways.
Thanks, Bel. Thanks for the insights into art therapy, and you can visit Bel's site, Ignite Art Therapies, as well. I'd also encourage you to visit Ikon's website, register for an open day, and join us next week for Faces of Ikon, where we will chat with Shannon Mesnell, who is the Head of Faculty for Community Services.
Yep.
Thanks, Bel, and thanks everyone for watching.